In the first major foreign policy test of his premiership, Andy Burnham faces mounting warnings that Britain's stepped-up military support for Ukraine could provoke a direct Russian response. Burnham's Kyiv visit, where he pledged support for Ukraine's domestic long-range missile production, has drawn sharp criticism from Moscow, which says Britain is deepening its involvement in the war. Will Russia target Andy Burnham in its first attack on Britain and subsequently NATO? Russia has warned Britain of unspecified consequences over reported UK drone support and missile-related technology transfers to Kyiv. Britain's weapon makers enhance physical and cyber security, but are they really safe from Putin? CIA Director John Ratcliffe reportedly traveled to Moscow for discussions with Russian intelligence officials, with reports saying he delivered warnings against escalating the war or striking Ukraine's Western backers. Recent fires and explosions at European defense-related sites have added to fears of hybrid sabotage with Russian backing. Days after Moscow issued threats over Britain's expanded support for Ukraine, reports said UK security officials received intelligence assessments warning that Russia could consider retaliatory actions against British interests. Prime Minister Andy Burnham was reportedly warned that Britain's high-profile military assistance to Kyiv could increase the risk of Russian retaliation, although neither London nor Moscow has confirmed a specific imminent threat. Security experts told the Daily Mail that Downing Street should prepare for a possible direct response from Moscow, a warning based on anonymous sources rather than publicly released intelligence. The warning was reported by the Daily Mail on August 26 and attributed to unnamed security sources, meaning the underlying intelligence and its confidence level have not been made public. The report claims the Kremlin may have underestimated Burnham's commitment to Kyiv and could now seek to pressure Britain, but this assessment has not been independently verified or officially attributed by UK authorities. The Daily Mail cited sources saying Putin faces domestic pressure to challenge Britain over its growing involvement in Ukraine, including its plans to help Kyiv manufacture long-range missiles. The reported alert came as CIA Director John Ratcliffe traveled to Moscow and met Russian intelligence officials, in the first known visit by a U.S. intelligence chief since before Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Reports said Ratcliffe warned Russian officials against further escalation in Ukraine and against any action directed at Kyiv's Western allies, though neither side released a detailed official account of the talks. According to the Daily Mail, the warning followed U.S. intelligence concerns that Russia could take escalatory action as battlefield progress slows, but this alleged assessment has not been publicly substantiated. The Daily Mail linked the reported departure of Russia's UK envoy to concern about an impending escalation, but there is no public evidence proving that the move signaled a planned Russian operation. The report says UK security chiefs were considering possible threats against the Prime Minister or defense sites, but there has been no official confirmation of a credible assassination plot or an identified target list. Former Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Andrei Fedorov said he could not rule out semi-military action and reference sites involved in producing drones for Ukraine, though he did not provide evidence, identify attackers, or describe a specific plan. Fedorov did not give details about how any action against Britain might occur, leaving the nature, timing, and credibility of the implied threat unclear. Major British defense companies are reportedly tightening site protection and cybersecurity as a precaution, reflecting broader concern over espionage, sabotage, and digital threats connected to the Ukraine war. The security concerns followed Moscow's warning that British missile technology, drone support, and intelligence assistance for Kyiv were adding fuel to the fire, while London said it would continue backing Ukraine.
Sergei Viktorovic, can I ask a question now? New Prime Minister of the Great Britain.
Britain?
Exactly, Britain. After being read the statement by the Russian embassy, he said that they would stand with Ukraine and that this would not change. Meanwhile, the British press, citing the Defense Ministry, has published some outrageous reports saying that, by carrying out drone attacks, they are showing that they are no longer worried at all about a possible Russian response.
I feel sorry for Britain if it intends to stand with Ukraine until the very end. As for the substance of the comment by our embassy, it means only one thing. President of Russia Vladimir Putin warned that we have the right to act in any area of the world's oceans if anyone encroaches on our interests or our property. We likewise have the right to regard Britain's proudly announced direct involvement of its missile forces in strikes against the Russian Federation as participation in the war with all the ensuing consequences.
This is the UK doing what it has long said it would do, which is to support Ukraine 100%, against this illegal war led by Vladimir Putin. We are providing support so that Ukraine can defend itself, and that's been the British position all the way through this conflict by previous Prime Ministers. It remains the case with me. We are not fair weather friends. We will be there in Ukraine's hour of need, and that won't change.
Are you embarrassed, and what action are you taking to make sure that things like that never happen again?
No, I'm not, because there was a minimal exchange, nothing of consequence, and actually quickly I realised that this needed to be reported, and I did so. So I handled it in the right way. All politicians are, receiving these pressures and these challenges, but I did everything right. There was a minimal exchange of information of zero consequence, and it was quickly reported.
Russia has accused the UK of escalating the Ukraine war after British-made drones were reportedly used in attacks inside Russian territory. The Russian embassy in London said Britain was increasingly becoming an accomplice in attacks on Russian territory, pointing to its growing military support for Kyiv. Moscow warned that Britain would face consequences, saying the price for London would continue to rise as UK involvement in the conflict deepens. Statement by Russian embassy to the UK read, and I quote, "In doing so, the United Kingdom is acting as an accomplice and co-perpetrator of the bloody crimes and terrorist attacks. London's actions will inevitably carry consequences for which it will have to answer. The deeper its involvement in the conflict, the higher the price it will pay." Unquote. London rejected the Russian warning and said Britain would continue standing shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine despite Moscow's threats. The British Defence Ministry said it remains committed to providing Ukraine with military equipment, including systems designed to strengthen Kyiv's ability to strike Russian targets. Britain has already announced plans to supply tens of thousands of drones to Ukraine, including long-range systems capable of reaching targets deep behind Russian lines. The drones were built by two British companies and have reportedly been used in attacks against industrial targets located inside Russian territory. A military source confirmed to BBC News that UK-made drones had been used in some of the attacks, potentially deepening the dispute between Moscow and London. Ukraine also targeted Wildberries logistics facilities, with reports indicating that 7 of the company's 10 centres have been disabled in the ongoing strikes. Ukraine has been deploying British-made drones in sustained long-range strike operations deep inside Russian territory for the past 6 months, according to multiple defense and media reports. British drones have now been confirmed in Ukrainian attacks far beyond the front lines, with the Sunday Times reporting their repeated use in high-value missions targeting critical Russian infrastructure. Among the systems employed is the BAE Systems Nayan, a jet-powered attack drone capable of high-speed precision strikes against hardened targets deep within enemy territory. Before finding its way into Ukrainian hands, the Nayan drone underwent extensive trials with the British Royal Navy, where it was evaluated for maritime and land attack roles. In addition to the Nayan, at least one other British-made drone has been used in these operations, though the identity of its manufacturer remains classified and undisclosed to the public. Despite the growing presence of UK-supplied systems, the majority of Ukraine's deep strike campaigns continue to rely on domestically produced drones developed by its own defense industry. A senior Ukrainian military source has stated that British drones have achieved significant operational success, particularly in evading Russian air defenses and striking high-priority targets. These British-made systems have been used to hit oil refineries in the Moscow region as well as facilities in Yaroslavl, hundreds of miles from the Ukrainian border. Further strikes have also targeted an oil refinery in Volgograd, demonstrating the extended range and strategic reach now possible with Western-supplied drone technology. The reported use of British drones in these deep penetration missions marks a major shift in their role, transforming them from support assets into central instruments of Ukraine's long-range war strategy. According to Western intelligence sources cited by The Telegraph, Russia is suspected of mounting a new wave of sabotage against European armaments factories and other companies supplying Ukraine, although the allegations have not been independently verified. The allegations were reported by The Telegraph on August 23 and are based on assessments from unnamed Western intelligence sources, rather than on public evidence directly attributing the incidents to Moscow. Intelligence officials reportedly assessed that the suspected actions are designed to disrupt military supply chains while remaining below the threshold likely to trigger NATO's collective defense mechanism, Article 5. The report alleges that Kremlin-linked operatives recruit members of local criminal networks to conduct sabotage against European arms makers, allowing Russian intelligence personnel to remain removed from the operation. Latvian authorities detained 3 Latvian nationals over suspected arson attack on a building used by Estonian defense manufacturer Milrem Robotics, though authorities did not publicly attribute the fire directly to Russia. The fire affected facilities linked to Tallinn-based Milrem Robotics, a company that supplies unmanned ground vehicles to Ukraine and is described as one of only 2 foreign suppliers of such systems to Kyiv's armed forces. Estonian Prime Minister Kristen Michal said investigators were examining whether the Milrem fire was an act of sabotage and whether Russia could have been involved, while the inquiry remained ongoing. This month, explosions were reported at Bulgaria's EMCO ammunition plant and at the KNDS Ammo Italy facility in Colleferro, incidents that renewed concerns about the vulnerability of Europe's defense industrial base. Earlier this year, a fire nearly destroyed a Czech facility that produces drones and thermal optics equipment for Ukraine, with 4 suspects detained in an investigation into possible Russian involvement. Western intelligence assessments say the GRU, Russia's military intelligence agency, has increasingly used criminal networks and intermediaries rather than sending trained operatives into target countries itself. According to The Telegraph, alleged Russian handlers use online messaging applications, including Telegram, to cultivate criminal intermediaries who can operate inside target countries. The intermediaries then reportedly recruit local individuals for specific tasks, paying them in cryptocurrency. The report says some recruits may not know that their alleged instructions ultimately originated with Russian intelligence. Western officials view the alleged covert campaign as an attempt to increase division among NATO allies, particularly between Eastern members urging tougher action and Western governments seeking to avoid escalation. Several NATO governments have been cautious about assigning blame without conclusive evidence, fearing that direct attribution to Moscow could raise diplomatic tensions or lead to wider escalation. Italy's defense minister said there was no indication that the Colleferro blast was anything other than an internal problem. Some Western officials see the alleged hybrid activity as a potential warning sign of broader Russian coercion against NATO, but this remains an assessment rather than evidence of a confirmed or imminent Russian military attack on the alliance.
Upgrade your news experience with the all-new HT app. Download now.